I pretended to be his husband to save his military career but lost my own heart instead. They say the military doesn't ask, and you're not supposed to tell, but it sure as hell will bury you alive if it finds out. I never thought a fake marriage could feel more real than any love I'd ever known. It started with a knock on my apartment door at midnight. Carter Hayes, the Army's golden boy, the kind of man who looked like he walked out of a Pentagon recruiting poster, stood on my doorstep soaked from the rain, looking like someone had shot his dog. "Julian, I need a favor," he said. His voice didn't crack, but his eyes did. I hadn't seen Carter since college, since the night he kissed me and then disappeared the next morning without a word. And now he was back, 5 years later, asking for help like nothing ever happened. I should have closed the door in his face. Instead, I let him in. Carter was under investigation. Not for misconduct. Not for insubordination. No, for being gay. Officially, the military had repealed "Don't Ask, Don't Tell." Unofficially, the culture hadn't. One whisper from a vindictive commanding officer, and Carter's whole career, 10 years of loyalty, sweat, and sacrifice, was about to go up in smoke. So he came up with a plan. A desperate, insane, utterly stupid plan. "We get married," he said. "Just until the review board clears me." "You want me to marry you?" I repeated flatly. "It's just on paper. You've got no family, no commitments, and you already know my history. Who else could I ask?" I stared at him. "You mean, aside from the part where you ghosted me for 5 years? He looked away. I was scared. Of me. Of myself. That shut me up. In the end, I agreed. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was closure. Or maybe some part of me, the masochistic part, still wanted to be close to him. We had the paperwork signed the next day. For the military, we moved into a tiny house near Fort Bragg. We shared bills, shared space, shared a dog, even a ridiculous pug Carter rescued from the base shelter. His name was General Waffles. But the one thing we didn't share was a bed. That came later. Living with Carter was hell. He was neat, disciplined, infuriatingly punctual. I was chaotic, messy, late to everything. He clipped coupons. I impulse bought 7 kinds of jam. But in the quiet moments over coffee, over dishes, over late-night beers on the porch, something old and raw resurfaced. We remembered how we used to laugh together, how easily our silences fit. And then, one night, it happened. He came home from the base, tense and silent. I asked what was wrong. "Colonel Wright cornered me today. Said I better not be faking it. Said he'd be watching. That if my marriage isn't real, he'll make sure I pay for it." I scoffed. "What does he want, a sex tape?" Carter didn't laugh. He just looked at me, his jaw clenched. "Maybe it's time we made it real." I blinked. "What?" "I'm tired of pretending," he said. Then softer, "With you, I don't have to." And then he kissed me. No fanfare, no music, just him trembling, finally letting go. That night, we did not sleep in separate rooms. After that, everything changed. We cooked together, fell asleep watching reruns, started holding hands under the table like teenagers. At the base, he was still Lieutenant Hayes. At home, he was mine. But fairy tales don't last long in uniform. A week before the final review board hearing, Carter received an anonymous tip letter. It claimed our marriage was a fraud, that I was paid off to fake it. They summoned both of us to testify. The room was cold. Uniformed officers sat in judgment behind polished desks. They grilled us on our marriage, how we met, what toothpaste we used, what side of the bed he slept on. We passed every question. But the air was thick with suspicion. Then they asked the one question Carter couldn't answer. "Lieutenant Hayes, if this is a real marriage, why haven't you updated your life insurance to list Mr. Reyes as your beneficiary?" I felt him freeze beside me. My stomach sank. He hadn't done it. He hadn't thought we'd get this far. I stood up before he could say a word. "Because I told him not to." I lied. "We had a fight. I didn't want to be a gold digger on paper." The board members exchanged looks. One of them, a woman in her 50s, asked me quietly, "Are you in love with him, Mr. Reyes?" I looked at Carter, at the man who had begged me to lie, who had kissed me like I was his lifeline, who still hadn't promised me anything real. I could have destroyed him right there. But I said, yes, I am. We were dismissed 30 minutes later. The waiting was the worst part. Weeks dragged by. Carter barely spoke. I barely slept. Then the letter came. He was cleared. No dishonorable discharge. No reprimand. He kept his rank. He was free. And I was shattered. That night, I started packing my things. You don't have to go, he said, standing in the doorway. You got what you wanted, I said. We're done, right? His voice cracked. Is that what you think this was? I turned to him, heart bleeding. What else could it be, Carter? You never even said you loved me. He crossed the room in 2 steps and cupped my face. I didn't say it because I was afraid the second I did, you'd disappear again. I laughed bitterly. You left me first, remember? I know, he whispered, and I regret it every damn day. He pulled out an envelope. Inside was an updated life insurance form. My name, my birth date, my signature already filled out. I changed it last week, he said, before the hearing. I just didn't know how to tell you without sounding like I was using you again. I stared at the paper, then at him. Then I did the stupidest thing I've ever done. I kissed him. That was a year ago. Carter still wears the uniform. I still steal his socks. General Waffles still hogs the bed. We got legally married for real this time on a Tuesday, in the backyard, under the string lights he insisted on hanging himself. Some people still talk. Some people still whisper. But when he takes my hand in public, when he calls me husband with that crooked smile, when he whispers, I love you, like it's an apology and a promise all in one, I know it was worth it. Because the truth is, I didn't just lose my heart pretending to be his. I found it. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.